This episode of Super Bulb Science is brought to you by the latest volume in the Laundryman series, Blood of the Saucerman, Book 2, coming to Kickstarter on February 2nd, 2026, and now in pre-launch, so you can go right now and sign up to be notified when the campaign goes live. Go to laundryman.ca.
Attention, citizens! It's time for Super Pulp Science!
This is Super Pulp Science, where we talk about how genre gets made. And on today's episode, we're actually going to talk about how genre gets made. We often run off on tangents about being professionals in this field, but today I have...
Are you fooling anyone?
I don't know if we've ever fooled anyone, but occasionally we stick to the promise of the premise, and today is that day, gentlemen. Joining me today is, of course, my long-suffering, somewhat softening co-host, Justin Curry, known the world over as Chasing Artwork. Lyndon Rachanka, writer, colorist, project manager, and graphic designer.
I'm not a colorist.
Yeah, well, you will be soon. It's the only one you haven't done.
Well, fair enough.
And producer extraordinaire, Dan Vadeboncoeur. Thanks for all being with me on the show today.
We didn't have a choice.
No,
Yes, you have a choice.
Yeah, you always have a choice. So, what came up, dear
Chains that I
listener?
can rattle on the podcast.
What came up, dear listener, was just literally moments before we started. I was going to talk about something else, but this is more interesting, and it goes as follows. I've recently just sent off to the printer a short run of my tabletop RPG, The Coffin Society. This means my vampire fictional world that I've been working on in my heart and mind is now open to outside influence. So I started consuming media about vampires.
Not much out
voraciously.
there.
There's not as much as I'd like, but there's a fair amount. Innocent Blood was a recent discovery. The fact they remade Salem's Lot, that's on my list. I've been watching The Strain, which we realize the somewhere on the mood board was the underlined phrase. Instead of beautiful, alluring vampires, what if they were absolutely disgusting, covered in snot and worms?
Have you seen Midnight Mass?
A Midnight Mass,
Oh, so good.
absolutely phenomenal.
It's a bit of a spoiler. It's not apparent that it's a vampire thing right away.
Yeah, no,
Sorry.
yeah.
I mean, like,
These days, the preview tells you.
Right, exactly. They give it away in the trailer.
But at the beginning, no, it wasn't. So then we started very briefly talking about this notion that we all work in these genre spaces, and we all have, you have a giant fighting robot story. You've got a Monster Hunter story. These are all genre.
a house with a monster
Yeah.
inhabiting it,
A house with the monster, the haunted house, the
the encased monster.
it's called the actual genre is the Old Dark House.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Um,
The old dark house.
the tropes of those things can sometimes overshadow the reason to make them, the way that we put ourselves into the work we do.
So, like you, for example, with your vampire, you were working on something vampire oriented. So, did you like consciously avoid vampire
Yes.
stuff because you didn't want to be influenced? Lyndon, do you avoid like supernatural type stuff when working on Laundrymen?
Some in certain ways, but in other ways, if I'm trying to plan a new Laundryman book, I'm like, I need to find a new cool monster
So you go
that
to
we
the-
don't know.
Mm.
So I have to go do some research on that. When I'm doing, say, vampire-specific stuff, I don't know that I strictly avoid it.
I want to hold you to the fire there for a second. You go to research. You said I want to look for a cool monster. What kind of sources you're going? You're not going to other genre entertainment sources,
No.
are you? No. So this is exactly the distinction I want to make. That if you're a creative person, go to the source of the ideas. Don't go to the expression of the ideas,
Which is often done.
which is
I think we've talked about this before, this exact thing. Frankenstein's a prime example of this.
Mhm.
I'm sure so is Dracula. Like, people reference the movies on these things, not strictly the books that they were written about.
Well,
No, I typically go to Wikipedia.
It's a good
I mean,
start.
it's fine as like because I know your propensity for not settling for the simplest answer. I think Wikipedia is a fine place to start.
I didn't say I went to Chat GPT. I said I went to Wikipedia.
Hey Grok, tell me about vampires.
Yeah.
And here's your vampire porn.
Of course.
Oh, gross. So the goal here is, of course, to have that, as the expression goes, the triumph of the echo over the voice, right? You have to be careful that you are not just this diminishing echo that gets weaker and weaker as you get from
Don't
the
be a
source.
shitty cover band.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't be a shitty cover band. You have to be it. So, but in that conversation, Coffin Society 1888 is set in London. It's an alternate take on the events of Dracula. It opens with the death of Van Helsing. So the first person Dracula gets rid of in this premise is the one person that could stop him, right? And my supposition had always been reading the novel. He's been reading and collecting all of these letters. This is from the source text, the actual book. It describes Dracula as collecting all the print materials from London, collections of the newspapers, figuring out how the society works, figuring out what is in his way. The idea that he wouldn't also have looked for the people who know about vampires always seemed like this huge plot hole, because he wants to get away from people who know about that. There must be someone in England who does, and there is. And he's famous. He's a famous blood specialist. Like, it just seemed always to me like a strange oversight on Dracula's part, which I rectified in this story.
That's good. And is it 1888? Does it have to do with Jack the Ripper at all?
So here's the thing. No.
Okay. I just thought of that just
And-
the year.
And I like 1888 because I like the eights.
Okay.
I like 1888 because if people know about London in 1888, they've heard about Jack the Ripper. If you are one of these people who understands that time in history enough to know that date, then you're the perfect person for this book because you know the time, you know the place, you know the setting already. I don't have to do too much work. But very specifically, there are no tragic real-world lived events presented as if they're fun.
So you're not saying Jack the Ripper was a vampire?
No. So
Yeah.
now if a player of this game wants to come in and say,
Oh,
right,
it's a game. I keep thinking
Right,
of it
yeah.
as a book. I forgot about
well, most of my novels start somewhere along the way as at least one or many sessions of a campaign premise that I run just to play around the idea. I think there's a book in here somewhere, but I couldn't decide in any way who the main character would be. And so I'm just putting all these things in a pile. But the through line of the plot, I didn't want to be influenced by other vampire genres. I didn't want the rules of vampirism to be, I didn't want to borrow from the echoes. I wanted to go to the sort
Yeah.
of voices.
Isn't Dracula traditionally a prideful character?
Yeah.
Isn't normally the trope in a case addressing your concern of a plot hole that
Mm-hmm.
other people would know them? Would
Who
it
could
be-
stop me?
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, how could one person? Because he's not worried that the villagers around his castle can stop him. So
Yeah.
why would he be
Yeah,
concerned
he-
that a single man in London can
be
stop
fair,
me?
He is, or he wouldn't have a castle. Right? The castle itself
that is protection.
predicates the notion that villagers are dangerous. Right? That's why you have a castle. It's so common people can't get you.
I think
Right.
I don't know if I'm sold
Right.
on that.
Yeah. But we could have a socio-political discussion about it and then ask ourselves, is that interesting? And does it add to the genre? Right? And that's what we're getting at. It's like, how is it different? Particularly now that we're in an age where intellectual property, as much as I hate that word, has this distinction of being either owned corporately or in the public domain. And using literary characters puts you in a position where everyone can use it. But if you just use it the way it's already been used, well, everyone will say, "Yeah, just go back to the source." So you don't want people to always be reminded of the better work when you're working, right?
You want to do something different, something new, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we see lots of examples. Even Renfield, that Renfield movie with Nicolas Cage was kind of an example of that, where it's a different take on that whole
Right.
relationship between
Yeah.
Dracula and Renfield, right?
I was going to bring up Daybreakers. I thought
Oh, yeah.
very unique, different take. Like, what if vampires won? And the entire world was ruled by vampires.
Yeah, now humans are rare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Humans are grown.
Yeah.
There were crops. It's just like the Matrix.
Why don't we just make a run for it? We outran them yesterday.
Run for it? Running's not a plan. Now, running's what you do when the plan fails. Valentine, you're not even trying to think of a plan.
Conversely, Nosferatu, very true to the source material.
In so much as it stole it.
From Bram Stoker.
Yeah,
It's from the source material that was a ripoff of Bram Stoker.
Yeah. And you, the lawyer, or the once lawyer, the almost lawyer in you, will appreciate this.
At this point, who knows?
It's one of the first cases of copyright infringement related to film and adaptation in the history of the medium.
Yeah.
Because they didn't consult the Stokers. They just were making a movie, and then the Stokers found out and sent their lawyers to say, no, you can't.
It was all so new, though. I mean, I don't think they knew they had to do that. I feel like
nobody knew. It's new.
It was all like very, very new. So.
Yeah, it's the way that TikTok people rip off everyone else's content.
Yeah.
Right? Non-stop. No, they knew after. So
Oh, you knew? Okay.
I'm not sure,
Oh, yeah,
Jonathan.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yes, Jonathan's right.
Yes, they knew once production had begun.
Yeah.
But it was because production had begun that they were forced to do rewrites.
Right.
They were originally going to do a faithful adaptation and then did some alterations. And now it's become its own story.
Where's this going?
Yeah.
So
I don't
here's
know.
what
Do you want to give advice to people who say that somebody's working on a werewolf graphic novel?
Where's this going?
Well, I wanted to ask you both because both of you, actually all three of you, are working now on projects that borrow from pre-existing genres.
Mm-hmm.
And you all have a slightly, you think, different take on it. How do you... Oh, yeah, and that face tells me you have lots
Well,
to say.
I've heard people say you should start by immersing yourself in the genre.
Mm-hmm.
So watch a bunch of stuff, read a bunch of stuff. Lyndon is shaking his head right now. He doesn't like doing that. But like you just kind of take a bunch of stuff in, so then it kind of has time to mix around in your brain, and then something new will come out. No, Lyndon? Is that guaranteeing you're going to rip somebody off?
No, I just, at a certain point, maybe a discerning creative can do it, but you have to understand what you're bringing to it versus what you're just bringing from someone else to it. Like how much of it is just someone else's ideas passing through you versus what you're actually bringing to your idea.
Qualified discerning creative.
That's his new
I
title.
don't know that I have a concrete
Yeah, that's your new title.
definition of that.
Discerning
but
creative. Lyndon Pachenko.
Should be your
circle back
business
to
card.
me.
I'll circle back to you. So if we're then using this idea constructively as you've got an idea, you know it's borrowing heavily from existing material. That's what genre is. It's a set of rules within the medium. How do you navigate to the point where you go, I have something to say?
This is an instinctual thing. Like if we go back to, I brought up werewolves before, just a monster genre. People like werewolves. If that concept just speaks to you, your mind's going to start racing with like, oh, if I were to do a werewolf fight, like here's what I would do for my movie or my graphic novel, my comic. Like, oh, I love what they did here. And Ginger Snaps, oh, and Silver Bullet had that was really cool. And like your mind will just start putting things together whether you like it or not.
So then for Spark Chasers, what is the source material? What is the genre? What are the stars in the constellation of that genre?
So Spark Chasers is my new graphic novel, which is based off of 80s, 90s, 2000s, like JRPG video games. And a lot of them have a very like hero's journey formula to them. You start off in like a sleepy village, a villain or some kind of event comes to the village, destroys it, sets you on an adventure. You go along this adventure, you pick up like other party members.
You build a team.
Yeah, it's like very D&D-esque, right? Like it has like such a set formula. And one day I was like, I grew up with the Final Fantasy series and like name a game from Squaresoft. I was a big fan. And in my like early 30s, I was playing through a game that I never played, Xenosaga, which was a big one back in the day. And as soon as it started, I like knew beat for beat. Okay, now I bet you this is about to happen, and that happened. Okay, and now we're gonna find some kind of like wizened figure to like, and exactly that happens. Like you could see the man behind the curtain so clearly. I'm like, I could do this. I want to do this. Like I want to tell a story.
So do you think, this is a question for the group now, if someone makes something original and then it's only copied once, that person is often called an imitator, right? Often called out to be like, oh, you don't have any of your own ideas. This is so terrible. You should just make your own thing. But if 100 people copy the idea, suddenly it's a genre.
So I think at like the core of the like that classic RPG hero's journey story, what really appeals to me and what appeals to a lot of people is you start off as a level 1 adventurer with no idea what's going on. And by the end of the story, you're level 80 and you can take on demigods. And I think that's what people love about gaming, is that level up, that improvement, that, you know, you explore the world, you uncover all these secrets, and you can take on the world-ending threat at the end. Mm-hmm. And that's the thread that I love and that I wanted to pull on this kind of genre. That's what really appealed to me. I don't have the resources to make a video game, but I can make a graphic novel. So I wanted to attempt to get that kind of experience through a graphic novel experience. So that's what appealed to me to that genre, and that's what I wanted to kind of duplicate.
So one of the elements that's you and not them is the shift in medium. It's not a game, it's a book. Mm-hmm. And the book now will feel like the old strategy guides, but it will read like a graphic novel, exactly, which is completely a subversion of the regular genre.
It's a remix. Like for example, like when you're telling a vampire story, are you romanticizing the vampires? Are they a plague, something to be stamped out? Like, right? Like those are two very different directions people usually take, like the monster series. Either they're like, falling in love with vampires, or these things are a blight on humanity. We need to kill them all, which you guys with Laundrymen kill them all with yours.
Well, see, this one, it sets up the premise. The players then figure out what's going to happen. But the essential driving force here is Dracula makes brides. And so I've just multiplied that.
Oh, it's that kind of story.
Right, exactly right. And that's what makes him awful. Right? Yeah. That's what makes him awful, is that he has a certain type, and he is serial in his selection and his exploitation of that type. And as a result, what's sort of core to the novel is that all the men that love Mina work to protect her, but she's the driving force of the story. Not everyone is so lucky. And so if instead of there was only one victim before Mina was strong enough to resist him, what if there were 100? What would happen to London as a result? What would happen to, right? Would it spread as a plague as he hoped?
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I would like to broach the topic of I'm gonna rewind on this.
I didn't get to put you under the microscope. We will soon.
I was teaching a class this morning for Dr. Jonathan Ball in creative writing, and I found myself talking about how the music that you love in your teens is going to be the music you listen to for the rest of your life. That's sort of an established observance on people.
The entire radio industry is based on that premise.
Yeah. Wasn't true for me, but I would like
to broach the subject of the types of stories and genres that you loved in your teens are now the stories that people are reinterpreting in their adulthood or reimagining in their adulthood.
So because my wife runs a vintage clothing company, I can tell you that those cycles are absolutely true.
Yes.
Right? People, whatever was uncool about your grandparents becomes the only thing you're after to be cool when you're young, right? And all that's that cycle. And so I think that's 100% right. And that's why you can weaponize nostalgia in the media market.
But I'm thinking about how in my teens, I grew up reading vampire books and werewolf books and fantasy and all these sorts of things. And now I choose not to immerse myself in that literature now because I feel like I already have an internal understanding of a lot of those tropes from the media that I absorbed when I was younger. And so am I just reimagining those things that I fell in love with enjoying when I was younger? And Justin's another example of this, talking just now about video games and the video games he loved growing up, and now he wants to do those same things.
What the hell are those things? How could they bury a whole station wagon?
Why would they do it?
See, and I think my circuit was broken by a box of stuff from my cousins, right? I got a box of stuff from a decade earlier that I found cool. And I lived rurally, but we didn't have cable.
What age did you find them?
Young. Like, this is what I'm saying.
This is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You're not breaking the circuit.
Yeah.
You're still enjoying the things that, or you're reinterpreting the things that you enjoyed as a teen. Just the things you enjoyed as a teen were of a different time.
It depends where they came from.
You're a decade out of sync.
Yeah. But
that's exactly right.
Your personal experience is the exact same, just with different material.
Yeah, I agree with your premise. And again, my wife would jump on this table and agree with your premise because she sees, you try to shake it, you try to break it. Yeah, just as what people do. And I'm sure, in fact, I know for a fact, many psychologists have studied this deeply. But if you are trying to take the things that inspired you when you were young and finally be good enough to make them now that you're old, that's not enough, right? Like, everyone had a box of toys and like Voltron would attack the G.I. Joes, right? It's not enough. Not a bad premise.
I'm sure it's being done.
Right.
I'm sure it's in the works and it hasn't already come out.
Yeah, I'm sure it's being done. But it's not enough to just put elements of genre together. You have to have something that speaks to now. And I think it's the way in which the present is represented in media, in any media, slow or fast, that makes it worth working on so that it gets finished and then becomes part of that landscape.
When you become a discerning creative,
this
is going to be a great trademark term.
You recognize what is great about said character, said story, right? Yeah. When you're young, what's great about Spider-Man is he fights crime and he swings from buildings. But when you're older, you realize like what is great about like Peter Parker's an everyman who people can relate to because he's always struggling and he's not Superman, right? He's not on top. He's got
normal problems.
He's normal problems. Yeah. And like, so you start to recognize the underlying like building blocks of what makes that, whatever the story is, great. And when you're younger, I don't think you can really figure those out nearly as easily.
Well, dear listener, from my vantage point, I have watched Dr. Jonathan Ball's ears perk up and then him bit by bit edge across the room until he's like hovering over Gregory's shoulder.
Didn't you tell us that this week you had to focus utterly and completely on the work you had to do?
Just 100% support what Justin said. This is really good. Sorry. So this is like
here it
this happened just a couple days ago. So my kids been reading this graphic novel and it's just terrible. I'm like flipping through on the couch. Just this terrible book. No, I'm not going to name it, but I'm just saying. So I asked them, like, but anyway, it was two books I got at the library. So I asked them later, I'm like, hey, how are these books? Like, oh, they're great. I'm like, well, which one do you like better? They're like, well, I don't know. I'm like, what do you like about this one? So I pointed at the thing because I'm curious, right? And they're like, well, what do you mean? What did we like about it? I'm like, well, what did you like about it? You say you liked it. What about it was great? They're like, it was a comic book. As you say,
they don't care. It's a comic book. That's all they care about. That's awesome.
So sometimes the medium is the message.
Yeah.
Right? Speaking to what you were saying about how we change or
reimagine
as we grow, though, but like you revisit the source material. When I was a kid, I read Dracula and I thought, oh, Van Helsing is so cool. I wish the whole book was about him. Now reading it again, I was like, and realizing the book is primarily about Mina. It's so good as a result of it being about everything in her orbit and the effect she has on everyone she meets because she's exceptional, right? And as a kid, I was like, more vampire hunters, right?
Or I think a lot of them, like there's probably a lot of fantasy books that I read growing up that if I were to reread now, I would not enjoy nearly to the degree that I did. So I think as creatives, a lot of us are trying to take the spark of whatever we liked about that book, that movie, that comic when we were younger, and retell it to be something that we would like now.
Yeah. So like the big monsters in the water as a genre, right? Really started by Jaws. J.J. Abrams is the first to say that when people copy Jaws, they always rip off the shark instead of the good part. The movie, when you watch, I just watched it recently, so it's on my mind. The community that is presented in Jaws is so alive and real. And so then these tragedies have weight.
Can I tell you my favorite scene in Jaws?
Please.
it's the scene in which they're getting everybody together in the room to talk about what they're going to do about the shark, and then Quint comes in and he does a famous speech at the end. But that whole scene from beginning to end is perfect. The whole movie is perfect, but that scene, like, because it's so chaotic and everyone's talking all at once, and that one woman's like, "That's not funny at all. I don't like that at all," and she's like, "You know what I
We've
mean?"
all been in that.
I know we all know people, and it conveys this small town personality so well. I just love that scene.
It's perfect, but nobody rips that off in Jaws. Like,
yeah,
Tremors did a fantastic job of building a small knit community.
that's true.
And you
100%
cared about all those
100%
characters,
agree.
yeah.
And Tremors, of all the monsters under the something, has cemented its place with 5, 7 sequels, something. You know, they're all bad. But the reason...
Similar to Jaws.
Yeah, Jaws doesn't have...
But the reason why they keep going back, why Tremors created its own well, is because it had both things. It had a monster that was plausible, if not believable, and it had human beings in it that were believable even when they weren't plausible.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And that part, that's what you're good at doing. I think that comes through in Laundryman. I
Pointing at me.
I pointed at you, Lyndon. Sorry, this is, shouldn't have pointed. Lyndon, when you're working on your script drafts and when you're working on Laundryman and you're working on other projects, you often are saying like, okay, yeah, fine. So there's a monster, but then what, right? Why? So why don't you guys tell me in your individual projects about the people in those stories and what you do to bring those people to life that would then, you know, ultimately not be about the genre. Those are your own experiences.
So I'm going to talk about Laundryman 2. Because that's going to be launching on Kickstarter in a couple of weeks, and we'll talk about that another time. And in it, it's a story about how Wade and Brian, who are the main characters of the series, they're essentially split up for the entirety of the book. At the end of book 1, Brian's like kidnapped and stuffed into a van and driven off into the night. And the book's about Wade trying to track down Brian. The short version is that Brian gets kidnapped by aliens who turn out to be the mob, and Wade tries to track them down, and he ends up finding a group of vampires who are also trying to kill the aliens, but they think that they'll help Wade find Brian if he helps them kill the aliens, and the aliens want to hire Brian to not get killed by the vampires.
Okay, so let me pause here for a second. If you're thinking to yourself, Gregory, why did you just give him a compliment? That sounds like the worst B-movie plot you ever heard.
That's awesome to me.
Right? It does sound awesome.
So the point of the book is actually not like that's just the wallpaper of the book, right? That's the plot rather than the story. The story that we're getting to is about Brian and Wade's friendship, the lengths that Wade will go to find Brian and save him, while the story is also an incremental revelation of Brian's background and explicitly why he hates vampires. Because I make it very clear at the beginning of the book, Brian hates vampires more than anything. And now he's a monster hunter. Why is that? So the story is about these two characters and their relationship, even though they spend most of the book apart from each other. But the plot is it's aliens versus vampires, and each one's on a separate side, and we get to see how that plays out between the two of them. Does that answer your question?
It does, but I think what better answers my question is when you describe that really your story is about what are the limits of friendship, like what makes a friend worth suffering for. And we've all had fair weather friends in our lives, right? There is a limit for people to what friendship is. And for most people, a flying saucer or a vampire would 100% represent that limit. So the fact that these aren't limits for those characters, it makes you want to know more and why and what connects them. And I think that's important.
Another thing I like about this is that you didn't pick a genre; you like kind of mashed a couple together. That's also fairly common. You see the stuff like Buffy and other like types of shows that really like just, or Supernatural's another one that just like they'll go anywhere. I mean, if magic exists, then you can do pretty much anything you want, right? So then go ahead and mash those two things together.
Magic is the next book.
We killed it. Fuck you!
With my characters and my story, the the original version of all the characters, I had them kind of almost grouped together. Like these guys are friends, and then they join up with these guys, and they go off into this adventure. And when it really started to click together is like there's about 5 main characters in my book, and none of them would spend any time with each other if they had a choice about it. They're all thrown into kind of the same boat and go along picking up each other and are kind of, all thrown into this adventure and have to go through it together.
So what situation would make them stick together?
Yeah. If they had a choice in it, they'd all go their separate ways, but they have to stick together in order to accomplish this goal. And that's when it all kind of got a lot more interesting and a lot more fun.
It's a fascinating inversion to me to observe that yours is like an internal strength holding it together, and yours is an external pressure pushing them together.
They become buddies by the end, though. But at first, nobody really likes each other when they first join the party.
Right.
So your real victories, the friendships that make it
Exactly.
way.
Spark Chasers, Trauma Bond edition. Right? Okay, so how about your screenplay? How do you make those people alive?
Well, I just kind of think of the situation that I want to put them in, and who would likely respond to this situation. So in my story, it's a couple of friends, childhood friends, who are trying to make the movie they've always dreamed of making, right? The horror movie that they've watched and they've grown up loving horror. And so they put an ad in the newspaper, because this is in the 80s and the internet doesn't exist yet. And so I'm just trying to think who will respond to this ad and try and make an independent movie, kind of like what you guys did, I guess. No, just joking.
I mean, yeah. But, we all came out alive.
That's right. Yeah, I don't know. Can't guarantee that for these people. But so I'm just trying to think of interesting people, and I still haven't fleshed out the characters completely. I think part of that comes out in the first draft of like just see what these people say in your mind and then go from there. But that's the initial situation is like only 2 of these people, and they come in groups. They come in little groups of people. So I've got a group of like college girls. I've got a group of goths. And then they've got a really annoying guy who thinks he knows everything about making movies. And so I'm trying to kind of bring them together in their own way. And they all got different goals in this. And they're all trying to they're all looking out for themselves, basically. So the whole thing is about, I don't really know what the overall theme is yet either. I should probably figure that out.
One thing that I found...
It's already there. The good news is that it's already in
I just got to figure it out,
right?
right?
Haven't figured out how to phrase it yet.
Brush it off.
It's already
debris is in the way.
It is about friendship, because those 2 friends are central to the story, but it's also about chasing your dreams and not being afraid to fail. That's definitely a part of it.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
And you might be eaten by a monster house.
You might, yes, but don't be afraid.
It's called corporate America.
But don't be afraid. Okay, my mind wandered there because you made me think of 2 separate elements. So you said, it's kind of like what you guys did, where you went off and made something. Well, one of the things that happens when people who don't know each other are trying to be professional, there is something, I don't know what it's called necessarily. You guys can help me define it. I wouldn't call it lies. But there is a certain amount of bravado that goes into every creative group of people who are meeting for the first time. And the joke I made and have made many times is it's like the beginning of a heist movie where everyone's coming in and they all have their specialty and they don't want to talk about their specialty, but they really want someone else to talk about their specialty and then smirk confidently while it's being done. Right? And so people also tend to want gratification for things they are insecure about. And so in your specific story, Dan, these characters who have arrived to the scene having answered an ad, they want to be seen as that kind of professional, which means they probably aren't very good at it. They're going to have that insecurity. And that, in my mind, can drive a narrative. What I often do in drafts when I'm trying to get a character to be more real, I will ask myself, what are they lying about? What aren't they telling the truth about? And I will only include it as part of a draft or a phrase, whatever, if it will be revealed by the end.
Right.
Or if not revealing it by the end has a plot purpose. So someone having a secret can be useful to the plot, but someone talking about having a secret can be useful to character exploration, because then people want to know the secret, and secrets are only cool if you tell them. So you have to sort of tease it out in the dialogue. Mike Sanders and I are working on a draft for a project right now, and we figured out that there's these two sisters in it, and we don't know what happened with their father and them, but they know that something really bad happened with their father and them. And this has nothing to do with the plot of the movie. This has nothing to do with the other character interactions. We just wanted these two sisters to have a few things they say that people have all heard before. Siblings talking about a parental relationship that ain't good, so that they will be recognizable, number one, as siblings, and also recognizable as human beings, that whatever action is taking place, there is this other thing that they're not ever going to really be able to let go. And this movie, the events of this movie, also going to help them let it go. And that was one of our notes when we were putting it together, is that this problem they have will not be solved by the events of this movie. It's just to set up a shorthand between them, that they don't always say everything that they mean. And it gives us an excuse to present that in a way that is normal to the audience before we do it in an impossible or a plot-related way where they're telling a secret and the audience knows, but the characters know, but the villains don't know, all that kind of stuff. We had to work backwards from that. So in Spark Chasers, you've got friendships. You said they're friends at the end.
Yeah.
How do we know?
They start giving each other nicknames and jibes and jokes, and yeah, by the end
they give each other nicknames and jibes.
Okay.
My softening co-host and my what is this? Discerning creative. So a little bit of that.
At the beginning of a lot of the relationships, the jokes are meant to be a little mean.
Insults.
And by the end of the book, they're not insults. They're
terms of
endearment. Yeah. It's a 280-page book, so that's as simple as I'm going to put.
Yeah, you got a lot. You got a long way to go. Yeah. Well, in the graphic novel medium or in the film medium, you have also the performance of the character to give you subtext to anything you say. So you can see the character's face and know they're lying when they say a line. And you have to describe things differently in a novel to show that it's false. You have to do a different kind of setup. In terms of what's new to the genre, let me ask you all first, what are the rules of the genres you are playing in? Not the sources. We talked about the sources, but what are the rules of the genre that you're playing in?
So for Lyndon's, the monsters have to have rules, weaknesses, strengths.
And the audience has to know the rules. That's typical of the genre. If you introduce vampires, we got to know their rules.
They have to come with a manual. Yeah. The monsters have to come with a manual.
Well, the nice thing about those public domain monsters is everyone sort of understands the basics.
You don't have to explain werewolves and vampires.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. You get to nod at them.
Someone should make a book called Public Domain Monsters and just
like an encyclopedia.
Something. I just feel like that means. Sure, it is.
Sure, I own 2 copies.
So it becomes more about what can we add to those things that people already know.
Yeah.
So I mean, the through line of Laundryman 2 that we started out with Laundryman 1 is that the werewolves that we are encountering in that book have been not genetically modified. They've been drugged in essence with what I decided to look up and call silver nitrate, because that seemed thematically appropriate for werewolves.
Sounds
and
about right. Yeah.
This cocktail of silver nitrate is causing the werewolves to go mad and to become subservient to vampires, who traditionally do not get along with werewolves.
Everyone knows that.
Everyone knows that.
Yeah! Can you fly, you sucker? Can you fly?
And I'm going to interrupt you all to help the dear listener. In the context of this, the genre elements, you want to think as a writer, as a creator, the reason to include them is they're time savers. They're a way to get to the heart of the story you want to tell that's set in genre faster.
Right.
So if you don't want to have to establish all your own rules, borrowing from other genre elements get you into a certain kind of horror story faster.
Right.
And so this is the productive part of this discussion. So you've given a great example.
Yeah.
By not having to explain that vampires and werewolves probably hate each other, you can move on to the propulsive part of the
It's
story.
certainly a common idea that people will know.
Right.
Yeah, I understand.
And then what some of the things that we mixed in, again, when we talk about mixing the genres a little bit, is the key ingredient in this silver nitrate is synthesized using alien technology, which is why they're trying to hunt down and kill the aliens and take their stuff.
Dangerous, though. Sci-fi, supernatural.
It's all the same.
Very rarely.
It's all the same.
It's very rarely do those merge well. Very rarely do those merge well. So I think it's brave of you.
Trying to think of a good example, and I can't.
Exactly, yeah. It's nice. It's tricky. It's tricky. But what's great about, for lack of a better way to describe it, the B-movie tropes, right? B-movie saucer people have a certain set of rules. They usually come to Earth to take blood or people,
Right.
or abduct
To do not so nice
Yeah.
things.
So they're basically space vampires.
Yeah.
And human vampire or Earth vampires. And so like really what you're doing when you say, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
It's the supernatural elements that were just a genre that was reskinned to be science fiction. If
Your
you
heels up.
Now, I've watched too many old 50s black and white.
What are you thinking of?
You're thinking of Don't Look Up?
Don't look up.
Don't look
But
up
that's
Jordan
an
Peele.
environmental movie. That
No, that's not what you're thinking of. You're thinking of the one with the aliens.
Yeah.
What's it called?
Don't look up.
Nope.
No.
What? It's a flying saucer movie. Come on.
It is. I don't want to spoil it, but I'm about to. It's a creature movie, not a flying saucer movie, right? Which is the best part about the flip of the genre. But what had happened in the 50s is that all the 40s, which had borrowed all the 20s and 30s pulp genres, now the atomic age had come in, and people wanted shiny things in their movies to be the reasons for stuff and internet. And so they took the monsters that would normally be the thing in the woods, and all they did was they have it arrive in a flying saucer first, and then they carried on with the thing in the woods plot.
How can we do this with AI?
Shush, your
We're just
Like,
going to
yeah,
cover.
then it
No,
was-
not like make it with AI, but
Oh, I
like
see.
how do we swap in AI or that shiny thing that you're just putting on top of?
Yeah,
the
that's what
monster?
everything is trying to do now, and it's why Tron Ares failed early, right?
Well,
Oh,
a lot of
I watched Final Reckoning. I saw
That was what that was.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Mission Impossible movie. Yeah.
That's too bad.
Yeah.
They thought they were on the pulse, and instead, I just wanted more planes done.
Well, that
I like the submarine more.
my favorite part of that one is the toss away that we're going old, we're going analog, and it's these World War I biplanes, this analog. It could have gone to World War II. They could have gone a little bit further ahead than World War I biplanes, but whatever.
Apply one. Now,
Anyway, so we're adapting rules.
yeah. So your rules.
Oh, rules.
rules.
Yeah, your
Of
rules.
genres.
You've got.
You've got them established.
You've got them.
I got to make them up because I'm making up something that doesn't really exist. The closest analog I could think of is Monster House, the cartoon,
Right.
which is a cartoon about a house that does come to life.
Yeah.
It is kind of like that, but in a more gross way.
Yeah. Yours is gross.
I mean, Monster House is pretty dark.
It is, but it's
Yeah.
still a cartoon, and it will be like, I'm thinking much more body horror, much more fleshy, gross.
More meat wall.
What's
More meat walls. Yes.
Here's your horror minds, all of you. What is I think it was 2008 horror movie set at like an Aztec ruin. Might be just called
The-
ruin.
It is
the
called-
plant.
And the plants are
Yeah.
sentient.
Those were creepy.
I don't think I've seen that one.
No,
a good one.
they're carnivorous.
I mean,
They're
it's not good,
carnivorous.
but
Yeah.
they're not
pretty-
sentient, but they can they mimic what they hear as like kind of a lure.
Yeah.
So they hear somebody crying for help, and then the buds can like repeat that.
Like
Parrot it.
vibration.
What I'm thinking in terms of rules, as far as my story goes, I'm thinking more in terms of like the following the same kind of pacing as a traditional. What did you call the dark house?
It's called the Old Dark House.
It's haunted house. I'm thinking about it as a haunted house
Yeah,
kind of a
haunted
thing.
house.
Whereas like people are in a house and there's something weird about it and they don't know what it is. So gradually they will find out piece by piece. It's a gradual reveal
So what
until
you
it finally goes all to hell.
So in the Old Dark House genre, and it's started because there was a movie in the 50s, late 40s, early 50s, something like that, called The Old Dark House. And it became the analog for the whole thing. And it's basically people find a big place, they go inside, and a room at a time, a mystery is
Yeah.
unfolded, right? They could have left, but they didn't. And now the house is the setting.
Too late.
There's usually some sort of like premise in the plot of like they have to stay overnight. Like the house on Haunted Hill is a good example.
It is an Old Dark House.
He's just going to give them money if they stay overnight
Yeah.
in this haunted house,
Yeah.
and that's all they need.
Yeah. So the setup to get them there in most of those movies is flimsy.
Yeah.
once they're there, that's the important part.
You-
But I think
You need
yours,
to get there, isolate them, no communication.
Yeah.
And then they have to, by the end, when it's too late, how do we, the car won't work. Oh, somebody tore out the battery. Oh, the gate is locked. We can't
The
escape.
phone's dead.
Yeah, exactly. You gotta, there's a couple check marks.
and in your case, the premise of it just being a movie being shot means you don't have to get anyone there.
Yeah.
Like you could actually start day one of production, take one.
And in the 80s, no cell phones. Perfect.
Yeah. You have all that stuff by time to play with, but the rules of your monster you will have to establish because that's unique. There isn't another story like it, and so those rules make it a different kind of movie. So you have to think now of like a movie like a recent example would be Life. Right, we're on the International Space Station. They have gathered a single-celled organism, and it slowly grows and becomes a threat. In each stage of its growth, they introduce the rule so that the audience knows what to do. Right?
That's right.
And so that rules introduction is going to be different. In your case, a movie like the old remake, like the 80s, maybe it was early 90s remake of The Blob might be a good one.
80s. Yeah. 85.
Because it changes form a bunch of times and they're chasing it through the town or whatever. But each time its powers are represented, they are multiplied.
Yeah.
And so the first thing that happens in the framing of that Blob movie is they establish that it dissolves things. Then they establish that it can move. And then they establish that it's hungry. And the more that it eats, the bigger it grows. And that it's stronger. And
they establish that cold will make it inert.
Right.
Yeah. So now, something actually hurts it because nothing else would.
And all of those things seem to be unrelated events to
Until
the character then is able to put all those pieces together and do something.
It's like so many horror movies, they introduce some kind of big piece of machinery at the beginning of the film that we come to, like, so in Aliens 2, it's the power loader. In Evil Dead, it's the chainsaw.
Yeah.
There was a spider movie that came out, Bite, Widow, I don't know, an awesome spider movie that just came out. And in the first 5 minutes of the film, they're like, oh, this huge industrial crusher is on the fritz. We gotta fix this thing.
Someone's going to end up in that thing before the end of the movie.
Right?
Broke into the wrong goddamn rec room, didn't you, you bastard?
Whatever they use to kill the monster has to be present in your front.
At the beginning, yeah.
And the problem is
It's
what
like
you're describing
Chekhov's gun.
is Chekhov's gun. Yeah, if you put it in, it's going to be used. If you put it in too obvious.
This room is full of flamethrowers. Who left all these flamethrowers in here? Shut that door.
Right.
Nobody should go in there.
They seem to work perfectly.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, you have to avoid
They
that.
actually did that in the Tarantino movie.
Yeah.
Oh. Careful.
That's
Watch out
right.
for
They
Steve
did have the
Iron Man.
Tarantino movie with a room with flamethrowers in it.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. So I just recently watched Poltergeist.
Oh, yeah.
Right? With Tobe Hooper, the director of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. All the controversy of whether Spielberg also directed it, I don't believe it, but he was definitely involved heavily.
You cannot deny Spielberg's influence in that movie.
Let's face it, though, if Spielberg's around, you'd listen.
Yeah, no kidding.
You're like, what?
This guy's walking off the set of E.T. to go help you with your movie. What do you?
You're going to say, great idea.
Get out of here, nerd.
But what I want to say about that, which is the Poltergeist haunted house. Like a haunted house story is a genre that people know. They decided immediately to subvert the rules of that by making it a new house. Right there. How can a new house be haunted? No one's lived in it before.
Yeah.
Right? That's an interesting opener. They show a loving family all hanging out together and having a great time for like a long time. There's like 20 minutes of the movie where it's like, whoa, like the pace is so of its time. You would never take this long to just have everyday life happening. And they are putting in a swimming pool in their new house, which is just happening in the background. It's not even, there is.
Don't concentrate on.
Yeah.
Don't look.
It's Chekhov's gun. That swimming pool.
Don't worry about that.
There's a bit of a distraction with the whole tree thing as
That's
well,
right?
right?
And
That's
the
kind of a
tree,
red
and
herring.
the MacGuffin with the tree. They keep showing you the tree. They're putting in a swimming pool, but they show you the tree in close up. And they have a story about how I built the house here because that tree is going to protect you. And then the tree is immediately ripped up by a cyclone and taken away. Right? So there are these genre elements of haunted house that we know. And simply inverting them can be your easy way to start, dear listener, as to what you're going to do. Haunted houses are usually an old, dark house. No, it's a new, bright house. Don't ask yourself how it can be haunted. Just say it is haunted. Well, what happens in a haunted house? Things move in the night and people are afraid. Instead, in this movie, things move in the day and no one is afraid. They think it's interesting. It's so much so that they put a helmet on a kid, put them in the place where things move, and they get slid along the floor. They've spent all day in gleeful exploration of the supernatural.
Such a fun part of the movie. Like, we figured out the tricks of the ghost and now we're using them for amusement.
And so they establish some rules, right? Mm-hmm. And then they go get some parapsychologists who are like, oh, we've seen things move. It took 7 hours for this thing to move. And he's like, yeah, well, don't go in that room then. And they open it, there's just stuff flying everywhere. It's just like they've come to.
We've seen some crazy stuff. Yeah.
The way in which people become so used to what's weird, particularly human beings, is, I think, the greatest thing about Poltergeist. It's the thing that isn't talked about that movie, is the way in which, if you had just moved into your house and some shit, like, for example, we moved into a new house and there's one door that always sticks. We don't worry about it. We just adapted our life to fix the way the door always sticks, right? You got to lean on a little, put the key in, right? If the door always swung open at 3 a.m., we would have an alarm for 3:05 where we would get up and close the door. Like, you wouldn't move out. And the way in which people adjust becomes interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what this all has to do with this broader discussion of genre is that as I'm watching this movie, knowing full well what it is, I can't help but pay attention to how everything is just a slight reverse of the haunted house story. It's actually so simple that you get confused at how simple it is. Oh, the house is new. The house is bright. The things happen during the day. The parapsychologists come to show them something. They know more than the parapsychologists, right? And those of you who have been watching Stranger Things, the scene with the rope through the worlds, lifted completely from this film.
Yep.
The slimy, gross rope and the tendrils from the upside down. This is where you first see it, and they're definitely referencing it in this movie. The other thing, too, is the little girl, it's not a ghost arrives into the house, it's a person disappears into them. There are just all the normal flips, and you could do no worse, dear listener, to simply take the things that always happen in the genre you like and do the opposite. Didn't George and Jerry have an episode about this?
Classically so, yes.
Classically so. You just do the opposite.
It's very discerning of you.
Right?
Sure.
Well, I'm just looking at I'm looking at you, and I know how much the Summer of George is important to you.
It's my whole life.
So, if you're wondering, dear listener, is the story I'm writing any good? Don't worry about that. Probably isn't.
It's probably derivative.
Probably not till the third draft. Is it derivative of other works? Absolutely it is. Don't worry about that. Get to your second draft. Are the characters in it real? Make them real for today, and they'll be real forever. If you try to make the human beings inside your story like the stories you are influenced by, those are people from another time. It will not be real. You have to write now. When I did Automatic Age, those characters are now. They're me and my son and me and my dad and those conversations. And yes, robots are attacking, but that's not the people in it. So if you're trying to make something that is in a genre that already exists, the rules are there to guide you. They're not there to control you. And you should probably back the Laundryman Kickstarter. How's that for a weird segue?
Woo! I want to, but
What?
I wonder about something.
It's okay.
I feel like what's missing in this episode in the wrap-up is there's so many other voices here. I'd like to hear from them in some constructive way. So maybe each of you should wrap up what you're going to do on your next genre. What did you learn? What did you learn from this experience?
I'm going to establish the rules. I haven't done that. I haven't really thought about rules in my world yet. So I'm going to start establishing some rules.
Book's already made. I can't change it.
You're working on new things?
The next book I'll pick a monster that I didn't grow up with.
Beautiful.
How about a monster from a different culture?
That's tricky.
Okay.
That's
You don't want to appropriate anything.
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. I just can't.
I agree with you, but that's my worry.
Yeah. I get it.
But yeah,
I don't have any like one of the next books I'm working on.
Gregory, you recall Justin's long ago resolution to just do whatever he says he wants to do. His ideas are always the best, right?
I remember this. Yeah.
I don't mean it that way.
We know.
Yeah.
Wait, is this the beginning of our journey where we start as enemies and we'll end as friends? Or are we allowed to say these things because we're friends? Not sure. He's not sure either.
But Justin doesn't your next project is so far away still, right? Because you've got so much to do.
Well, I've got a prose novel that's kind of I chip away at every now and then as well. And with like the new characters, I don't really know them yet. And so I've been finding it fun just to I have like a bunch of throwaway conversations. I don't know if any of them are going to end up the book or all of them or what. Because I'm just trying to like find these characters because I have some that are really established and I have some that are being introduced. I don't exactly know what they're doing there yet. And so I'm just playing with them and I'm having fun, but I'm not trying to get too bogged down on like, this guy needs to be the strict, like controlled, like type A person. And this person is messy and blah, blah, like trying not to stereotype them too much. Just have them have conversations, put them in some situations and see what they do.
See, now this feels like a better place to stop, Dan, because normally what I do is I sum up, but I was feeling too much like I was saying things that were intended to be authoritative, but you're supposed to explore when you're creating things, and I didn't like the tone where it's like, do as we do, this is it. Instead, I prefer that on my next project, I'm going to try and borrow from all three of you. So I'm going to make up my rules. I'm going to set my rules. I'm going to draw upon things that were not part of my growing up, things that I like or are part of my fandom. No formative childhood experiences. And I'm going to play with conversations about the characters with each other without any preconceptions. I think these are good ways to break with genre. This has been Super Pulp Science. Join the fight and make comics.